be fair, I did say that was clickbait. You don't have to stop doing your favorite exercise. That would be ridiculous. But the point of this video is there must be balance within your training. And I'm guilty of this myself. We all have our favorite exercises. For me, it's pressing exercises, bench press, military press. And the problem with this is if you have a very dominant exercise within your program, you may create muscle imbalances. And so you most certainly have to have balance within your training cycles. And this balance can come from corrective exercise, preventative exercise. It can come from stretching and mobility training to make sure that you don't have these muscle imbalances, to make sure that your body is functioning and working in an effective manner. And so you can watch my last video about the rotator cuff and impingement to give you an idea of these corrective exercises. And so you don't have to stop doing your favorite exercise, but most certainly you can take a temporary break from doing it and focus on correcting some muscle imbalances. Or you could simply continue with that exercise but lighten the weight and work through the movement and see where you struggle. Now generally, because we're so focused on progressive overload, we may have a compound movement which we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger at, progressively overloading, increasing the stress on the muscle. However, we may have some sort of problem with our form. And if you're like me, maybe in the past you ignore this small issue. And so that's what I mean when I mean stop doing your favorite exercise. You know, that was a bit of overemphasis to create the catchy YouTube title. But I think it's really important not to just muscle through movements. Sometimes we have to leave our ego at the door. We have to lighten the weight slightly. We have to work on corrective and preventative exercises. And so I find external rotation exercises incredibly boring. So what I will do is I will superset them within my workouts. And so just to start, that is a towel in my pockets. So here is a pulling workout. And what I'm doing is supersetting my main movements with external rotation. And not only am I working on preventing muscle imbalances, but I'm also, by supersetting, maintaining a high heart rate. And as one of my goals is to cut fat, that's contributing to the overall calorie burn. I'm using a neutral grip pull-up. I'm doing 4 sets of 8 supersetted with a low cable external rotation. Now with my pull-ups, I will vary from the neutral grip to an overhand and underhand grip set to set. So with the low cable external rotation, as you can see here, I'm slightly extending the elbow joint too much at the top of the movement. Now, this isn't overly important with this specific movement because the goal of the low cable rotation is you want to basically go from internal rotation to external rotation. It's a large range of motion. So my main goal here is just to work through that large range of motion as opposed to a medial to lateral rotation exercise where it's a very compact, short range of motion exercise where you really are focusing on muscle isolation. And so strict form is even more important for this exercise than it is for the large range of motion cable movement I'm showing you. Having said that, I can look at my form and I can see that I want to maintain a small bend in my elbow through the full range of motion. So watching this video, I'm therefore going to correct it. And so next time I do this, I'm going to work through that conscious range of motion and contraction and maintaining that slight elbow flexion the whole way throughout the movement. And so this is what I'm going to tell you. These clips I'm showing you here are real work, real training in real time. I'm supersetting, I'm fatigued. These are not demonstrations, repetitions that are being done for YouTube. Nobody has perfect form throughout every single lift, especially when you are fatigued. Your form is one of those things that can start to vary. So anytime you see people in YouTube who have perfect form with every video, that's just not real life. In my opinion, they're doing demonstration sets for camera. They may be doing multiple takes of this to make sure that they're looking great on camera. Now that's important. It's important to show good form. But the reality with what I'm showing you is real work in real time. And hopefully that will have application to you. And so another example of me supersetting external rotation with my pulling day is the pen lay row and then the dumbbell external rotation. The pen lay row, if you don't do this exercise, it kicks my ass like nothing else. If you want overload and fatigue, please consider the pen lay row within your pulling workouts. I'm doing 4 sets of 8, again, supersetted with a dumbbell external rotation. Now, this is the 3rd set in to this superset. So I was using a slightly heavier dumbbell. Guess what? I needed to get rid of my ego. I felt extremely fatigued through the external rotation. I dropped to using baby weights because I want to focus on this isolation and contraction of the rotator cuff, the external rotation. And so don't be worried about your ego. If I have to drop the weight to make sure I'm feeling that peak contraction, I will do it. And so with the dumbbell external rotation, I'm increasing my range of motion on this exercise by starting at this overly internally rotated position. If I have a greater range of motion, my intensity will generally be lower, a lighter weight. If I decrease my range of motion, for example, if I started the exercise here, at shoulder height, I could use a heavier dumbbell as I'm working through a less range of motion. The other reason that you may need to use a light weight for this exercise is because my starting position involves what I would call a risky rotator cuff position. It's a potentially compromised position where I have a high shoulder position and the elbows are flexed at 90 degrees. And if I get tired through this movement, rather than muscle it and create the potential for injury, I'm going to take a mini set break and get right back to it. And for me, I find mobility, stretching, flexibility training boring as well. I don't wake up in the morning excited to stretch out, okay? And there is no pre-workout for this. It comes down to your commitment to your health and your commitment to physical fitness. There are things which you simply have to do. And that's going to be a mental game. And so the point of this video, because we have so much craziness in terms of functional training and fitness YouTube, it's to create the balance within your training. We all have our favorite exercises. Sometimes choose your worst exercise. Choose the exercise you hate doing. You're not motivated to do. Do that first. Go and do that one first. And then work from there. I'm James Linker. This is Shredded Sports Science. I'll see you soon.